Coming up, a kid's guide to what are called the midterm elections. As some states hold primary elections this week, we'll take a look at the midterms coming in November. Our kid correspondent Lucy finds out what they are and why they're so important. Then Class Act. Students at one elementary school in Indiana help raise money for kids with cancer, one haircut at a time.
Having the feeling that you're helping somebody live a better life, it's such a great feeling.
Plus, birds of a feather.
Why are flamingos pink and white?
We'll answer that question and also reveal some other fun facts about those fascinating flamingos. And top of the world.
The view, oh my gosh, it's indescribable.
This teen just became the youngest American woman to summit Mount Everest.
I would say just never stop believing in your dreams and don't be afraid to dream big. Dream dreams that seem impossible.
Her inspiring story just ahead.
This is NBC Nightly News, Kids Edition.
Welcome back to Nightly News Kids Edition. It's always one of the highlights of my week to be here with you guys. We've got a great lineup, including this teenage girl from Illinois who just made history. Plus, why are flamingos pink? We got the answer, and it may surprise you. But first, let's begin with one of the stories we here at NBC News are following this week, and that's the U.S. election process. So you may have heard the word primary in the news lately. That's because it's what's called primary season. What is a primary? Well, it's a process by which political parties in the U.S. choose their best candidate to run in the November election. And there are two main political parties in the U.S., the Republican Party and the Democratic Party. The midterm elections are taking place in November. What are they and why are they so important? Our kid correspondent Lucy put the question to our friend Steve Kornacki to break it down for kids in the latest Lucy Listens installment.
Steve, can we start with what is a midterm?
That's a good question, Lucy. So midterm happens in the middle of a president's term. So a president gets elected. Remember, we had 2 years ago a presidential election, and when a president gets elected, the term is 4 years. The president gets 4 years in office. So the midterm it's just the middle of that term. 2 years in, we have a bunch of elections that take place. We call them the midterms.
Why is it so important, and what does the winner get?
Winner gets an awful lot of power. So you see this building right here. This is the U.S. Capitol building. And inside this building, there's the House of Representatives and there's the Senate. And this is what we call Congress. And they make and they pass all sorts of bills, all sorts of laws. So the winner of the midterm gets to control the House of Representatives and the Senate.
Who is in control now?
So right now, it's very, very close. This is the House of Representatives, and there are actually 435. I'll write the number out. There are 435 districts all across the country. There's going to be an election in every single one of those districts this fall. That's part of the midterm elections. And right now, Democrats have 222 of those 435 seats from those districts. Republicans have 213. So Democrats control the House right now, but you can see there's a difference of only 9 seats there between the two parties. So it's very close. And if you think that's close, it's even closer when you look at the United States Senate. The Senate has 100 seats in it. And the Senate's a little bit different than the House because instead of having districts, the Senate is every state gets 2 senators. We got 50 states in the country. Each one gets 2 senators. So 50 times 2 means there are 100 senators. And right now, you can see it's split right down the middle. 50 Democrats and 50 Republicans. And right now, very technically, it's the Democrats who have control of the Senate. And the reason for that is because if the Senate is tied, the vice president of the United States breaks the tie, gets to be the tie-breaking vote. So the president is Joe Biden, and his vice president, Kamala Harris, they're Democrats. So because the vice president's a Democrat, the 50-50 Senate right now is technically controlled by Democrats. But obviously, it's very close, and it helps explain why so much is on the line in the midterm elections.
If the Democrats control it now, how would the other party be able to get control?
So that's the big chance for the other party, the Republican Party. The midterm elections are their big chance to get control of the House and the Senate. Republicans need to win elections in 218 districts, because that would be just over half of 435. So if Republicans can win 218 seats in the House or more, they'll have control of the House. The Senate right now is evenly split 50-50. The catch on the Senate is not all 100 Senate seats are going to be voted on. Because it's 50-50, all it would take is for the Republicans to gain one seat, and then they could control the Senate.
Who gets to vote?
So in the election, you have to be registered to vote, and anybody who is a U.S. citizen 18 years or older can register to vote and can take part in the election this November.
Why can't kids vote?
Well, that's because the Constitution, the document that was written at the very founding of the country to sort of set all of the rules for how the government's going to work, the Constitution says you have to be 18 years old.
So, what can kids do in the election if they can't vote?
So there is a lot of impact that kids can have if they want to, if they're interested in government, if they're interested in elections. You know, one of the things you can do is you can volunteer. You can volunteer for a candidate who is running for office, you know, for a campaign for that candidate. So there's all sorts of opportunities for kids to, maybe they can't vote themselves, but they can try to affect and they can try to persuade people who can vote to vote the way they want them to vote.
Steve, this was awesome. Thanks.
Lucy, I had a great time talking to you.
Lucy and Steve, thanks very much. What a great explanation. Now let's head to Indiana for a story about some little kids with big hearts who recently came together to help kids with cancer. Our good friend Kate Snow has details.
Take a look around Eisenhower Elementary in Crown Point, Indiana. You might notice a lot of kids here have something in common. With a snip here and a trim there. Dozens of students just got their heads shaved, all for a great cause.
I was like, wow, that's a lot of hair.
The event raises money for the St. Baldrick's Foundation, an organization committed to curing childhood cancer.
What are you going to do with those 2 people?
Teacher Jory Russo got the idea to bring the program to her school from her son, Griffin.
He said, Mom, my friend Will asked me if I could shave my head with him. And I was like, what are you talking about, shaving your head? The two of them and a few other kids from school shaved their head. So the very next year I said, why can't we make this a school-wide thing?
It's now been an annual tradition there for over a decade. This year, the 46 students who participated raised over $35,000. Heidi Meshady is one of them.
It was a very exciting day, but it was also very, it made me very nervous. But the moment I sat down in the chair to shave my head, all the worries went away.
Fifth grader James Katsouris says St. Baldrick's mission is an inspiration.
Having the feeling that you're helping somebody live a better life, it's such a great feeling.
The support means the world to classmate Mila Hurley. She's been in treatment for the most common form of childhood leukemia since 2020.
I just thought it was amazing.
Little kids with big hearts helping children with cancer, one haircut at a time.
How brave they are is overwhelming to me. Every year I'm just shocked and in awe of the kids and their willingness and selflessness.
All right, Kate, thanks so much for that. What a great story. Let's switch gears now and go on a field trip. We recently received this question from one of our viewers.
My name is Teddy Fidel. I'm from Germantown, Wisconsin, and I have a question for you. Why are flamingos pink and white?
That's a great question. I haven't given that a lot of thought, but now I am. Why are flamingos pink and white? Well, here with the answers and more is Lauren Wilson, the Associate Curator of Birds at Zoo Atlanta. Lauren, we're so happy you're joining us today. So let me put that question to you. Why are flamingos pink and white?
Well, flamingos are pink and white because of the food that they eat. More specifically, because of chemicals in their food called carotenoids. Plants make these chemicals, including plants that we eat, like tomatoes and carrots. It's why they're red and orange. But flamingos aren't eating tomatoes and carrots. They are actually eating algae in their environment that contains carotenoids. They also eat crustaceans, or small shrimp-like animals, that also eat the algae that eat carotenoids. And when they digest these food items, they metabolize the carotenoids, and it turns their feathers pink. There are 6 different species or types of flamingo in the world, and they are all different shades of pink because of the different carotenoids that they eat.
That's a great answer. A lot to think about there. What can you tell us about the flamingos behind you, the ones you have at Zoo Atlanta?
Well, here at Zoo Atlanta, we have a flock of Chilean flamingos. They are found in the southern and southwest portions of South America. We have roughly 70 individuals in our flock, and it is one of the largest in the country. Our flamingos range in age from just 8 months old all the way up to 35 years old. Because we have so many flamingos, we also have one of the most reproductively successful flocks in the United States.
This is a great shot of them, and some of them, you know, when they're leaning over, don't look that big, but then they stretch their necks up. How tall can flamingos grow?
Chilean flamingos are one of the smaller of the 6 species, and they get between 4 and 5 feet tall. However, the Caribbean or American flamingo can get a little over 5 feet, almost 6 feet tall.
That's close to my height. And how do they use their beaks?
So their beaks are specialized to filter the algae and those crustaceans that we talked about earlier out of the substrate they live on, so sandy flats, muddy bottoms. And what they do is they tip their heads upside down and use lamellae, or structures in their beak like a filter, to push the mud and the water out of their beak and trap all of those good diet items inside their beak.
Now, here's one I have thought about and wondered about. Why do they stand on one leg sometimes? It seems incredibly uncomfortable.
Well, scientists think there are 2 different reasons why they stand on one leg. One is for thermoregulation. When they're standing on 2 legs in the water, heat leaves their body very quickly. So by tucking one up in the feathers, they can keep it warm. The second reason is actually to save energy. Flamingos balance better on one leg than on 2, and having one leg tucked up into their body means they're ready to go if they're startled by something like a predator.
Well, I think I'll continue to stand on 2 legs. Can flamingos fly? And while you're answering that, can they swim?
Yes, they can do both. They fly in flocks up to hundreds of individuals, and in deep enough water, they can also swim. They have webbed feet, just like ducks.
So, Lauren, are there any other fun facts you can share about flamingo and that kids may not know?
Absolutely. A group of flamingos has many different names. They can be called a stand, or a colony, or my personal favorite, a flamboyance of flamingos.
I like that, flamboyance of flamingos. Well, Lauren Wilson at the Zoo Atlanta, thank you for sharing all that great information. That's a beautiful group you have. I'll say group you have behind you. Thanks so much.
Thank you very much.
All right, finally in our Inspiring Kids series, one teenage girl from Illinois is on top of the world after making history. This is what it looks like to be on top of the world.
The view, oh my gosh, it's indescribable.
18-year-old Lucy Westlake becoming the youngest American woman to conquer Mount Everest's highest point, over 29,000 feet.
Just to be at the top, it was really surreal. It was like one of the best moments of my life, for sure.
I spoke with her shortly after. Our connection was spotty, but her passion was clear. So when you got to the top, did you say something? Did you laugh, scream?
I just said to myself, I was like, I'm at the top of the world. Like, I really couldn't believe it.
It took her 26 days to reach the peak, but Lucy has been climbing toward this moment for most of her life. The Naperville, Illinois teen grew up climbing with her dad, starting at age 7, and never let fear limit her dreams. You were at one point afraid of heights?
Yeah, I was. When I was little, I had to conquer that fear because I love the mountains.
Last year, Lucy became the youngest woman to reach the highest point in each of the 50 states.
You did it!
But even for this teen who was in top form, climbing Mount Everest, the tallest point on the planet, is far from easy.
Looking up at Everest from Camp 4, that was the final camp, and it was like, man, it looked impossible, but you just got to put one foot in front of the other, like break it down, keep it small, and just believe in yourself.
She's now tackling the Explorer's Grand Slam, a climbing challenge, reaching the highest peak on each continent and trekking to the North and South Poles.
For me, it's not about breaking records. It's about pushing limits.
Lucy is more than halfway there.
That's really one of the reasons I climb mountains. I just love to see how far my body and mind can go. It's challenging, it's not comfortable, but that's the point. I mean, that's really where you grow as a person.
Meantime, Lucy plans to take on a different kind of challenge come the fall, starting her freshman year in college. A teenager inspiring America and climbing to new heights.
I would say just never stop believing in your dreams, and don't be afraid to dream big. Dream dreams that seem impossible, because if you work hard enough, if you want it bad enough, you can make it possible.
All right, well, that's going to do it for us parents. Just a reminder, if your child has a question about any topic in the news, email a video to us at nightlynewskids@nbcuni.com. You can also follow us on Instagram at nightlykids. And just a program note, you can catch a new episode of Nightly News Kids Edition this Saturday on NBC. Check your local listing for the time in your area. Thanks for watching, everyone, and remember, take care of yourself and each other. So long.